gracias por estar aquí con nosotros el día de hoy en nuestro evento de Canada Education, Colleges y Universidades. Al nombre de Class Education les quiero desear la más cordial bienvenida, que es nuestra sexta edición. Tenemos 30 universidades y colleges canadienses que nos acompañan y por supuesto al gran equipo de Class Education que están aquí para apoyarles, aconsejarlos y seguirlos en este proceso de ir a estudiar en Canadá con nosotros. ¿Listos? ¡Vamos! Muy bien, bienvenidos.
Quiero ir a estudiar un posgrado a Canadá el año que viene, entonces vengo a ver la oferta de las universidades, ver pues qué posgrado es el que tomaría y pues la inversión que tengo que hacer.
Venimos a este congreso para ver los diferentes colleges o las oportunidades para estudiar y trabajar en Canadá, ya que es un objetivo que tenemos de vida y venimos a ver las oportunidades.
Yo estoy aquí porque sí me interesaría ir a estudiar a Canadá.
Canadá es un lugar hermoso donde la gente es súper amigable.
Su nivel de vida es de los más altos en el mundo.
Y que pues ofrece muchas oportunidades con una calidad educativa excelente.
Además de que es una experiencia internacional, estás viviendo con personas de todos lados del mundo.
Conocer distintas culturas, distintas formas de pensar.
Siempre tener un poco más te va a ser diferente. Me llamó la atención de aquí del Congreso el hecho de que da muchas oportunidades.
Muy padre la asesoría también legal para pues, la parte de inmigración, ¿no? De Canadá está muy bien y pues muchas conferencias que te ayudan bastante.
Entre tantas escuelas hay mucha información, hay de dónde decidirse qué estudiar. Mi diploma lo obtuve porque me inscribí a Humber para aplicar.
De hecho, actualmente estoy estudiando medicina y me gustaría hacer algún posgrado.
Ahí en Canadá estoy pensando estudiar ingeniería mecánica. Me pienso quedar al menos 2 años para ampliar mis conocimientos, mis habilidades.
Soy licenciada en Comercio Internacional y pues me gustaría hacer algún tipo de posgrado o alguna certificación en Canadá.
Class Education es una excelente empresa que realmente cumplen lo que te están vendiendo. Yo sí lo recomendaría definitivamente.
Es una empresa con mucha experiencia.
Tienen mucho interés por pues, abrir las puertas, ¿no? A la gente de afuera de Canadá para entrar a Canadá.
Pues que aprovechen las oportunidades que este tipo de ferias ofrecen.
Que se avienten a conocerte este tipo de exposiciones que hay para enriquecerte como persona, como estudiante y pues lo recomiendo muchísimo.
Buenas noches, México. Mi nombre es Bruno Perón y a nombre de Class Education les quiero desear la más cordial bienvenida a nuestro webinario de hoy. Como ya es costumbre, hacemos webinarios 2 veces a la semana desde que empezó esta pandemia que estamos viviendo. Y como siempre, tratamos de traerles contenido de mucho valor para ayudarlos en su toma de decisión de estudiar, venir a Canadá y estudiar aquí con nosotros. Como cada webinar que tenemos una institución que nos acompaña y hoy me encanta el video que acabamos de ver, se me hace muy energético, lleno de soluciones para enfrentar el mundo que estamos viviendo. El eslogan de la institución, de hecho, me encantó, Education for a Complex World, educación por un mundo complejo. Y qué complejo se puso este año este mundo y esta institución pues está al centro de eso, dando soluciones a los alumnos que estudian ahí, preparándolos para esta nueva realidad. Entonces creo que el eslogan es muy ad hoc por los tiempos que estamos viviendo. Entonces vamos a empezar, les voy a presentar en unos minutos más. Antes de eso quería empezar para decirles que este webinario está siendo grabado y está en mismo tiempo en Facebook, en nuestra cuenta de Facebook, en Facebook Live. Así que los que nos están escuchando en Facebook Live, si les gustan compartir, hacer comentarios para que todo su red de amigos y amistades se vayan conectando con nosotros también, adelante, se lo agradecería mucho. Creo que van a encontrar información de mucho valor el día de hoy. Al mismo tiempo que estamos grabando este webinario, tenemos el gran equipo de clase que está en vivo contestando a sus preguntas en las secciones en Zoom de preguntas y respuestas y en Facebook Inbox o en el muro. Ahí estamos a sus órdenes para contestar en tiempo real. Y las preguntas más relevantes o más importantes o más recurrentes las voy a leer un poquito más tarde junto con mi invitada del día de hoy para contestar por el beneficio de todos. ¿Ok? Y eso va a ser más o menos en unos 30 minutos. Esos eran los anuncios que tenía que querer decirles. Por los que no nos conozcan, Class Education es una empresa canadiense que nació en México hace más de 26 años. Hoy día, 20 años más tarde y 10,000 alumnos enviados a Canadá de México, podemos decir que somos una empresa con muchísima experiencia, que hemos trabajado con instituciones de todo el país en Canadá. Trabajamos con más de 300 instituciones canadienses y tenemos oficinas en México a lo largo de la República. Entonces, estamos a sus órdenes para apoyarlos en diferentes áreas, ¿no? Hablando obviamente, de la consultoría educativa, toda la parte de hospedaje, la parte de visado, la parte de revalidación de estudios, la parte de financiamiento, si es una necesidad que tienen también. Al fin, tenemos muchísimos servicios para ustedes. Todo lo que uno puede llegar a necesitar para estudiar en Canadá lo pueden encontrar en un solo lugar en Class Education. Entonces, y la empresa, pues digo, un servidor es canadiense. Yo me ubico en este momento en Canadá, en Vancouver, donde está nuestra institución de hoy, y con colaboradores nuestros a lo largo del país aquí en Canadá y también, obviamente, en todas nuestras 6 oficinas en México. Bueno, entonces eso es Class Education. Quien tiene preguntas, vamos a publicar los datos de clase después para que nos puedan hacer llegar sus preguntas, pero aquí también en vivo vamos a poder contestar a sus preguntas. Nuestro webinario de hoy es con una institución muy conocida aquí en Canadá, una referencia en términos de institución de educación superior que se llama BCIT. Y la persona que nos acompaña es Sara Lando. Sara es una especialista de reclutamiento internacional con BCIT. Sara está en Vancouver, igual que yo. Somos aquí cerca uno del otro. Sara, buenas tardes. Hola. ¿Estás ahí? Are you there, Sara?
I'm here. I'm here.
Can you put on your camera?
Yes, definitely.
Great. Ok, entonces, le decía, Sara es canadiense igual que yo. Habla muy poquito español, entonces la presentación de hoy va a ser en inglés. Sarah, I was just introducing you and saying that today's presentation will be in English. If anyone needs translation or you want to do questions in Spanish, there's no problem. Si alguien quiere hacer preguntas en español, los pueden hacer. Y estaremos contestando en español y yo estaré apoyando con la traducción. Sarah, we still can't, oh, now we can see, there you go.
Now you can, yes.
Okay, great. How are you, Sarah?
Mi nombre es Sara.
Muy bien.
Pero mi español es no bueno.
Está bien.
Más o
So
menos.
welcome, Sarah. I just introduced both BCIT and yourself briefly. Sarah, I'm sure we have a lot of people on the call today. I'm sure they're asking, okay, tell us about BCIT, tell us about your programs, tell us about your requirements. And our audience is quite, educated, and they will ask you, is this PG postgraduate work permit eligible? All these things that they already know. So do touch upon those points. I was just saying in the introduction that I love your slogan, education for a complex world, and how complex things turned out this year.
Yes.
And I think that slogan is very adequate for now. And I think in the video it says you can either sit down or let it happen, or you can be part of it and be part of the solutions. And I love this approach. I think BCIT is such a leader in that sense. It's such a an energetic vibe type of school, and I love that about the institution. And anyway, I'm sure you'll tell us more about it, but I just wanted to kind of give this little intro. So all yours, Sarah. I'll be here in the background if you need me. If I may have some questions along the way, but I'll let you do your presentation, and we'll take some questions together towards the end. Okay?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I will share my screen.
It's a pleasure. We already have questions. My God, you already started.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You haven't said anything yet, and they already started.
Okay, sorry, one moment. Let me just look for it.
Por los que no saben, while you do this, it's a beautiful day today in Vancouver. It's 32 degrees, sunny. Both Sarah and I are way overdressed for this. We should be in our bathing suits. We should be doing this at the beach.
Yes, we should. Okay, here we go.
Okay, all yours.
Great. So just a fact that I want to share is between now and 2022, BC, British Columbia, will see over 1 million new job opportunities. And so that's really big. And, that really is a good introduction to why BCIT is such a wonderful institution. And I will tell you more about why as the presentation goes on. Okay, so we're going to talk about the facts about BCIT, how BCIT is different than all the other institutions, our graduation employment rates, which are the best in Canada, the different schools at BCIT, how to get in, which is very important, upgrading your English, working in visas, and then some tips on how to get into BCIT. So BCIT was founded in 1964, and it's one of Canada's largest post-secondary institutions, with 50,000 enrolled each year. We have over 6,500 international students from around 116 countries. So, just over 10% are international, the rest are Canadian. And we have over 185,000 graduates. So a lot of students come to BCIT. In fact, I went to BCIT as well. So I speak from personal experience.
Great.
So yeah, so how is BCIT different than a college or a university? So one thing that stood out to me when I enrolled at BCIT, because I first went to a university and then I went to BCIT.
Tell us which university you went to first.
Yeah, sure. I went to the University of British Columbia, so UBC, which sounds a lot like BCIT, but they're different. And I have an arts degree and I loved it. But I did find that it was hard for me to find a job after UBC because I learned a lot of theory and I didn't learn so much practical knowledge. So I worked for a year and then I decided to enroll in BCIT because it has a reputation for being very hands-on, very practical, which was definitely true. So one thing that I noticed is that the class sizes were extremely small. compared to, you know, big lectures with 200 people. At BCIT, you can have anywhere from 16 to 28 students in your class. So you get to know the students, you get to know the instructor, you call them by their first name. It feels a lot more personal and a lot less, you know, like you're a number, you're just a student number. They really do get to know you. And then another thing that really stood out to me is that the learning is very hands-on. So yes, you are in a classroom. Yes, you have to read, you take notes, but that's 50%. The other 50%, you're actually going to be applying what you've learned to a project or to a real client issue that you get to solve. So it is very, very practical, very, very hands-on. You're not just in a classroom, you're actually out in the field doing the work. The instructors, they don't just teach, they also have experience in the industry that they're teaching about. Program advisory committees, which I will talk a little bit about in a sec. And then probably the most famous thing about BCIT is that once you're done, you are ready to get a job because you have worked really hard.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is very, very true. When you're ready, when you come out of BCIT,
Yes.
they grab you.
Yes, exactly. Because they know that if you, totally, they know that if you like survived BCIT, you can get a job. Don't worry, it's not too hard, but it's definitely hard work. But the payoff is that you will get a job in the end. Okay, so yeah, BCIT inspires students beyond the classroom, providing job-ready graduates to industries across Canada and the world. You know, again, just touching on the PGWP, if you do study at BCIT for 2 years for our diploma, you are eligible to apply to the 3-year PGWP. You still have to apply, but you know, it's really great because if you spend so much time working so hard, you want to work in Canada. So, you know, the PGWP allows for you to work for those 3 years in Canada. Okay, so moving on to what an advisory committee is and why it's important to BCIT and industry connections. So at BCIT, we have around 150 programs available to international students. And each program has this committee called an advisory committee. And their job is to make sure that the curriculum, the skills that they teach the students are actually what's being practiced in industry. You know, sometimes when you're in university and you're learning something that was relevant 10 years ago, at BCIT, we like to make sure that what you're learning is actually what you're going to need to succeed and to thrive in industry. So the Program Advisory Committee consists of project engineers, CEOs, CFOs, head of companies, and they just make sure that what BCIT is teaching is relevant and useful. Okay, so next we talk about our kind of famous statistic. So 91% of BCIT diploma graduates are employed within the first 3 months of graduation. So that's a very, very good number. And it's because we really do teach our students the hands-on skills they need to thrive in the workplace. And then for our students who graduate with a bachelor's degree, that's a 98% employment rate. So 91 for diploma and 98 for bachelor degree. So those again are extremely high numbers, and I can speak from personal experience. Once I graduated from BCIT, I got a job right away because they knew I could work hard.
Wow, 98%.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, 98%. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, really, really good statistic. And yeah, also my classmates, because you know I still keep in touch with them. They all found it very easy for them to get jobs as well. So really, really good on that statistic. Another thing that's really good to know is that BCIT graduates, they earn an annual income, the median, so the middle, earns an annual income of 70,000 Canadian dollars, whereas the median individual income in Canada is just under $30,000. So, you know, depending on the program you're in, you can make a really good salary with a BCIT education.
Solo para los que escuchan, eso significa más o menos 1.2 millones de pesos anual o 100,000 pesos mensual. El salario promedio de los graduados de BCIT hoy día. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so BCIT's education model. So this is another great example of how BCIT is different, is that if you look at the education model, what drives the BCIT education is industry, what's practiced at the workplace, which leads to an education that's hands-on, that's applied, and then translates into skills for the students who study there. So once the students acquire these skills that are driven by industry, they're ready to work. So job-ready graduates. And that's why our employment outcomes are so high. So that's our education model. And it is unique. It is different than a lot of other universities and colleges that are more theoretical. And you know, it really does work. Another thing about BCIT is that we have a credential laddering model, which means that when you take a BCIT certificate or a diploma, let's just say a diploma, so that's 2 years, you know, you work for 2 years, you apply to your PGWP, then you work in industry. Let's say that, you know, you realize that you really like living in Canada, you really like working here, you can decide to go back to school and get a bachelor's degree. And you don't have to start from year 1. You start from year 3 because you've already completed your diploma. So at BCIT, we allow you to continue your education, but if you want to work in industry and take a break from your education, you totally can. So you don't have to start from square one. So that's kind of how our credential laddering system works. Does that make sense? Did I explain it properly?
It makes a lot of sense to me, but
yeah.
Okay. Tell the college at the beginning of this, or you can decide halfway through the program?
You have to complete like the diploma that you're doing. And then if you want to, you can graduate and then you can reapply to a bachelor's degree.
Okay. Okay. Wow, it's very good. So you don't waste any time. You just take it from where you left it and you continue on.
Exactly. And also sometimes it's expensive to do a bachelor's degree if you're an international student. So maybe another option is to do the diploma, work for a few years, and then come back once you've made some more money and do your bachelor's degree. So it's also a really like economical option as well for international students.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So now we're going to look at BCIT school structure. So we have 6 schools. They're all under the BCIT umbrella, but we just like to divide our programs, since we have so many, into 6 schools. So we have the school of,
more like faculties, right? Maybe.
Yeah, kind of like faculties. Exactly. It's we call it schools, but it pretty much is like faculty.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So the first one is the School of Business and Media, which is where I went to. So I feel very good about that one. We have the School of Construction and the Environment, the School of Health Sciences. We have Energy, Transportation, and Computing and Academic Studies. So I'm going to go into it. And yeah, again, we have over 300 programs overall. But for international students, there are some programs that are only available to Canadians. But we have around 150 that are open to international. So still quite a lot to choose from. And you know, as time goes on, we do eventually hope to have more programs available to international students as well. So when you go to our website, you know, just make sure that you're on international, because we have, you know, www.bcit.ca, but we want to make sure that you're getting the information that's relevant to this audience, which is international. So www.bcit.ca/international, and I can definitely provide you with the link. And that's where you're going to get all the information that's relevant for international students. So what I like to do is, you know, go to that website and then look for the full-time programs. And that's where we have all the programs that are available to international students. So that way, you know, you're getting the most accurate information. So I'm going to just touch over some of the programs. We have the School of Business and Media. We have anything from accounting to marketing management to broadcast and media relations, such as online journalism, TV, radio. We have a Master's of Digital Media, which is a really interesting program because it's joint with Simon Fraser University, the University of British Columbia, and Emily Carr. So that's a master's. And we have a lot of also 3D modeling, art and animation, graphic design programs. And what's really cool about BCIT is we are actually right next to the EA Sports, the Electronic Arts, and they hire a lot of BCIT students once they graduate. So, you know, being in BC, going to BCIT, you are surrounded by your future employers, which is really, really special, and something that I really appreciated about BCIT when I was a student. Yeah. We have the School of Computing and Academic Studies. And so, you know, for students who are really interested with anything to do with IT, something to note is that there are tons of jobs in Vancouver for IT. It is insane. Amazon is building a huge, huge office downtown. We have a Microsoft office. We have tons of tech startups in Vancouver as well. Vancouver likes to call themselves the maple syrup mafia, which is kind of like the Canadian version of Silicon Valley. So there are a lot of IT opportunities, and in terms of salary, IT jobs pay really well. I really should have gone into IT. No, I'm just joking, but it is really great. I know, right? Exactly. So we have the computer information systems. What I really like about that program is that in your first year, in the 2-year diploma, you start by learning a really solid foundation. And then in your second year, you can actually have a focus on app development or artificial intelligence and data science. So you can really kind of have a focus that you're interested in, and then find, you know, a more kind of niche job that suits exactly what you have learned. Yeah, so we have computer information technology, we have games development, full stack web development, so lots of really great IT programs. And for IT, you can either study at our Burnaby campus, which is our main campus, or our downtown Vancouver campus. So you can apply to either location, which is really, really nice, depending on, you know, where you want to live. Then we have the School of Construction and the Environment. So for that one, we have, you know, our architectural program, interior design, we have civil engineering, we have construction management, we have fish, wildlife, and recreation, which is all about resource management. And if you are passionate about, you know, the outdoors, which BC, British Columbia, prides itself on, that's a really great program. We have geomatics. So really a lot of great programs under the School of Construction and the Environment, lots of diverse programs. And then we have the School of Energy, which is where we have a lot of our engineering programs. We have, you know, anything from electrical engineering to mechatronics and robotics, mechanical engineering. We have industrial network cybersecurity. So I know that maybe you touched on the fact that BCIT came up with this article that talked about, you know, 12 really in-demand programs because they link towards jobs. So one of the programs that was created in September 2019, because that there was such a demand for you know, employees, was industrial network cybersecurity. So that program was created because, you know, with people using the internet and like with so many advancements, security is so important. And so this program was created because we need more people in Vancouver to work in industrial network cybersecurity. So we did a Facebook Live actually with the program head, and it was really, really interesting, and it's a really great program as well. So just kind of a new program to update everybody with. Then we have the School of Health Sciences. So that one includes biomedical engineering, technology, food technology, which is all about the processing of food, and then also occupational health and safety. So some great programs under the School of Health Sciences. And then lastly, we have the School of Transportation. So at BCIT, we cover air, land, and sea, but because of the high demand of program seats for Canadians, right now we only cover air and land for international students. And so what is a really, really great program is the aircraft maintenance engineering. Why it's so great is because we do have more seats available for international students, and the requirement to get in is just slightly easier in terms of your English speaking abilities. You would only need like the equivalent of a 6 in IELTS, not a 6.5, which most of our programs ask for. So it's a little bit easier to get into. The instructors are very, very accommodating, as all of ours are, but they're especially used to international students. So if if you're passionate about aircraft and planes and airports, then this is a really, really great option. And we have multiple intakes. So you don't have to wait for September or for May. You can come in January. So again, a really accommodating program for international students. We also have airport operations, and then we have, automotive programs. So automotive service technicians and operations. If you're really into cars and vehicles, that's a great option for you. So as you can see, we have a ton of programs at BCIT, and I know a little bit of information about all the programs, nothing too in depth, but again, I can definitely let you know where to find information, and I can always look into getting more information for you, because every program has a program head, and I speak with them on the regular. So lots of information that I can always help find. So we're going to go to admissions requirements, because this all sounds so great, but like, how do you actually get in? So when you're on our website, you go to admissions requirements, and it'll always tell you the exact things you need to get in to a BCIT program. All BCIT programs have slightly different requirements. You'll notice that there are some programs that have kind of really similar requirements, and then you kind of start to get the hang of it. Like, for example, all our business programs, we're really only looking for English and math. But for our, biomedical program, we're looking for science, because it's biomedical. So it really is depending on the program, and I'll just go over that with you. So you go to program entry. So when you look for a program, you find a program you like, always click on program entry, because that'll tell you exactly what you need to get in. So first thing, it'll tell you whether the program is first come, first serve, or competitive entry. So when it says applications are accepted from October 1st to April 30th, you know that that is going to be competitive entry, because they're going to accept all the applications, look for the best ones, and then decide who is going to be in that program. If the application is accepted from October 1st with no date at the end, that means that it is first come, first serve. So if you meet the qualifications, you're in. So for programs like that, you want to make sure that you apply right away, okay? So for September 2021, applications open on October 1st. So if your program is first come, first serve, you want to take a look now at what you need to get in. So when you apply, you can apply as soon as you can to October 1st, 2020, okay? We still have seats available now for certain programs, but I'm talking about if you're, thinking about maybe later on. Okay, so then it goes to entrance requirements, and you can see that we're looking for English, we're looking for math, chemistry, and physics. So because this one's biomedical engineering technology, it's going to ask for a few more prerequisites than maybe like a marketing program that's just going to ask for English and math. So for this program, general insurance and risk management, they're just looking for English and math. So I'll get into what English Studies 12 equivalency for international students would look like. But again, we're looking for, the high school equivalent. So for math, it says pre-calculus 11, foundations math 11. That's referring to high school. So in Mexico, is the system the same, or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, very similar.
Very similar. Okay, so yeah, they're just looking for, your second last year of high school or your last year of high school. So what you would do is you would get your transcript translated from Spanish to English, and that's how you would, prove to us that you have completed the equivalent. And if you have taken math in university, because most of the students who go to BCIT, 70%, already have a degree, then you can also translate your university transcript whatever works, high school or university, as long as you have done math, we're happy with that, okay?
Y just a parenthesis there, este servicio de traducción de documentos, decirles qué documentos necesitamos y todo eso, es un servicio que ofrecemos en Class Education. Tomamos sus documentos, los mandamos a traducir por peritos traductores avalados por la Embajada de Canadá en México, que es lo que piden, y con eso esas son las traducciones que mandamos a la institución. En el caso de BCIT o de cualquier otra institución, el proceso es el mismo. Nosotros les podemos decir qué documentos necesitamos, los mandamos a traducir por fuentes autorizadas para traducirlos y los mandamos a la institución. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so English requirements. So for an international student, we're looking for lots of different options. You don't just have to take the IELTS, although we do take IELTS. We take, most of our programs ask for a 6.5 overall score. We take TOEFL. We take the CAEL, which is a Canadian exam. We also take Cambridge. And then we have a few other options. So we have partner schools with BGC and Kaplan International. So you can study there, your English, and then transition from one of those schools to BCIT. We have our own English program called ISEP, which is the International Student Entry Program. And the great thing about ISEP is that you can come to ISEP. You can start the program online because of COVID right now. So you can actually apply to, not to COVID, you can apply to ISEP, you can take the test, and you can start studying at ISEP from Mexico because of the situation. So that's a really nice option. And we used to have to make you come to Canada to take the ISEP entry test, because in ISEP, there are 7 levels, and we need to assess which level you would start at. But because of COVID, you can actually now take this test online. So that's really nice for students who, they can't come here right now. You don't want to come all the way here just to take a test. So that's another great option. And at ISEP, we actually have someone whose, job it is to help the student transition into BCIT. So in terms of the student getting their application in, you really have a lot of support kind of within BCIT. So it's a really good program for students who, want to go into BCIT, but just need to upgrade their English. And then right now, because of COVID, we are accepting the Duolingo test. It's a great deal. It's $50, I believe. And, I think that even if you're not sure, I would say do it, because it's a small investment and it's temporary. So we're not always going to be accepting this test, but because of what's going on now, we are. So, take it while it's available. That's what I would say for some advice. Yeah, any questions about this, Bruno, on your end?
Tons of questions, but I don't want to interrupt you. We'll take the questions up. We have like over 100 questions already.
Oh, great. Okay. I'll see if I can answer them. Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, of course. Okay, so working in visas. So again, I'm not a visa expert, so I don't like to give information about something I don't know very much about. But what I can tell you is that BCIT is a public institution, which means that if you graduate from, a year program, you can apply for a year postgraduate work permit. And if you do our 2-year, program, and these are full-time programs, the 2-year full-time diploma, you can apply for that 3-year postgraduate work permit. So, that's the great thing about a public institution.
Eso es muy, muy importante. Cuando Sara se refiere al PGWP, eso es el permiso laboral de 3 años que se otorga a los graduados de un diploma de 2 años o una licenciatura de 4 años o un posgrado de 2 años también. Y lo que acaba de comentar es que si uno hace un certificado de 1 año, solamente le dan el gobierno canadiense el permiso laboral de 1 año después de graduarse. Entonces, si estudias 1 año en una institución pública, tienes 1 año de trabajo. Si estudias 2 años o más, tienes automáticamente hasta 3 años para trabajar en Canadá.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so application tips. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you know about your program before you actually start your application. So Most of our programs are either going to be competitive, or first qualified, first accepted. So if it's competitive, that means that the best application wins. If they're asking for a 67% in math, you want to have an 80% in math. You want to have higher than the minimums we're asking for. But if it's first qualified, first accepted, as long as you meet the entry requirement and you apply as soon as possible, you have a better chance of getting in. So that's kind of the difference between competitive entry and first qualified, first accepted. How it works at BCIT is that for every program, we have a small amount of seats that are allocated to international students. So it can be a little bit competitive sometimes because, you know, it's kind of like the highest marks are going to be given the seat. But again, first qualified, first accepted, you just need to be on time. You don't have to worry about having the highest marks. So, you know, you can do some research and find the program that's going to be best for you. Great. So also, yeah, applying as early as possible, as I mentioned. How BCIT works is that once you're in a program, you are in for the 2 years. You don't need to pick your courses. The courses are chosen for you. Everything is kind of done for you, which is quite nice. And, you know, your schedule is given to you. And it's always a reasonable schedule between the hours of around maybe, you know, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and sometimes shorter. So it's always going to be between those windows of time, and you get your schedule. You don't have to choose it. Okay, next is ensuring that students understand the application process. So at first, our website can be a little bit intimidating because there is a lot of information. But again, you know, Bruno and myself, like, we're here to help you and make the process easier. So definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. It seems like from the amount of questions you're asking me, you're not afraid, which is very good. And yeah, it's a process. And the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And again, something else to know is that a student can only apply to one program at a time. Unfortunately, you can't apply everywhere, but it is good to have a second option in mind, because sometimes for some reason, the program can be really full really fast, but we have a lot of other programs that have similar job outcomes, that have similar courses. So having a plan B is a really good idea. And sometimes I will send students another option to say, hey, you know, you're on the wait list for marketing management, but the marketing tourism still has spots available. As you can see, the courses are very similar. So my job also is to help students make a good choice, you know? So those are some application tips. Before I go into questions, I do want to talk a little bit about the cost, because I don't have a slide for it, but I know it's extremely important. So for BCIT, a 2-year diploma program is going to cost around 40,000 Canadian dollars. So every year at BCIT is around 20,000. The same goes for our master's programs. For our certificates, 1 year at BCIT is 20,000 Canadian dollars. So something just to talk about is that BCIT, you know, it's not, you know, as cheap as all the other colleges, but how we kind of differentiate ourselves and how we show our value is once you complete a 2-year diploma program at BCIT, you will finish with approximately 127 credits. And that is the equivalent of 4 years at a college or a university. So even though we may be slightly more expensive for 2 years than another college, I'm not exactly sure the difference between, let's say, like Langara and Douglas to BCIT, you will have completed the amount of credits of 4 years. So our cost per credit is very competitive. Mostly, like when I was at university, I took around 4 or 5 courses per term. At BCIT, you're taking 6 to 7. So you are going to be busy, you are going to be working hard, but once you're done, the payoff is that 91%, 98% job rate. So in terms of like my decision to come to BCIT, I felt like the value for the hard work and the amount of money I paid was really worth it, because again, I got a job right away. And when you are doing research on the programs, you can actually click on each program. They have a jobs and graduation section, and that will actually tell you how much you can expect to get paid once you graduate from BCIT. So that way you can, see how long it will take for you to maybe remake the money that you spent at BCIT. And you can maybe make more informed decisions, because we do a lot of research after students graduate. We want to know how much they're making, if they're liking it. So you can see all the research on the website too. So that's another really, really great thing, because, it's expensive to study in Canada. You want to make an informed decision. So that's my spiel about pricing, but happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Just to touch upon what you just mentioned, it's expensive to study in Canada. I'm not sure I share that opinion. If we compare Canada, let's say, to the US, the UK, or other destinations, I think it's pretty inexpensive for international students to study in Canada. I think we have a very strong offer. We have a very competitive offer also in terms of pricing. Remember, these are Canadian dollars, and the Canadian dollars is at least 30-35% cheaper than the US dollar right now. So that's a big difference. Also, the aspect that international students can work part-time while they're studying and full-time during the breaks, the vacations, and then get offered a 3-year postgraduate work permit is something that no other countries in the world is offering today. So is it expensive? I think it's the cost of a good education. It's a cost of preparing yourself for a complex world, not to use a slogan, but I think it's a good, very competitive prices. And even if you compare with the local offering in Mexico, a private institution in Mexico could easily cost the same amount of money. Now, of course, and there are great institutions in Mexico, but when you talk about international experience, it's hard to get in your own country. It's like for me to have international experience in Canada, I could say, well, I live in a country where there's lots of different nationalities, but that doesn't cut it. It's not the same thing, right? So living in another culture, living or studying in an institution with 116 different nationalities, 50,000 students, 6,500 of those are international students from 116 countries. I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling. It's overwhelming. And the benefits from that are very, very tangible to me.
No, you're right. It's not, maybe the word expensive is wrong. It's just, it is an investment.
Oh, definitely.
So you want to make sure that, you are making the right decision, because it's not a small amount of money. You're really investing a lot. But again, what you said is so true. Like the opportunities, outweigh the cost that you're going to spend. So it's really, I believe it's really worth it. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't. So yeah.
True. And it shows that you believe it, because you're a graduate from BCIT and you see the difference. Anyway, so having said that, it is also true that a 2-year diploma in BCIT has the worth or the weight of a 4-year bachelor degree sometimes. So it actually comes down to be cheaper. If it's $40,000 in a college that costs maybe $15,000-$16,000 per year, 4 years, that's $60,000. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If my math is good. Anyway, so I think there are 3 things. It is an investment. It is something that one needs to analyze, get the right information to make the right decision. And class is there to help you out in that sense as well. And so is Sarah. We can have, one-on-one calls like this one with Sarah, if she's available later on this week or next week or in the following weeks, to talk about specific programs. I would dare to say that maybe we could even have, if we have specific program questions about a certain program, we could maybe even have the head of the faculty or the head of the school or a professor to assist us in some of the questions that we may not be able to answer. But I know also the website has a lot of great information that we can dig into and supply this to our candidates. Okay, so there's lots of questions, Sarah. I want to start with some of them, otherwise we'll never finish. We have, let me see. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go through some of them. There are lots of them. Lots of people are giving us their phone number and email and WhatsApp to be in touch with them. I think we may call upon you to do, for some of the questions. And we may, if you're available, in the next few days. Maybe do a couple of Zoom calls or Skype calls.
Yes.
One of the questions that
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm sorry?
I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, definitely.
Leaving the country, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Enrique Huitron is asking, and that's a question that's, several people are mentioning it. With the pandemic, when can we start traveling to Canada? Well, Enrique, we don't know yet. The situation here in BC is very good. We are almost back to normal in terms of, freedom to go to the park, to the beach, to restaurants, to bars even. A lot of the sanctions have been lifted and it's almost back to normal, or at least it's back to a new normal, but the border is still closed. And partially because our American friends are not doing as well as we are. That's one of the reasons. But towards the end of July, we should hear more about what the government of Canada is planning to do towards end of August, maybe early September. So we're hoping that the border will reopen soon with specific protocol with regards to international students. Maybe you can tell us, Sarah, about what the school is going to be like in the fall semester of BCIT.
Yes, good question. So a number of our programs are going to be delivered all online. So, you could start the program from Mexico. You don't have to come to Canada right away, with the hope that you do eventually come, because your education is going to be so much more meaningful when you can actually apply what you've learned in Canada. But, it's nice to know that students can start their first year from Mexico. Some courses are blended, which means that there are components of in-person labs, but every program is different, and I can share with Bruno the list of programs that are all online and which programs are blended.
Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much what it's going to be like this fall, I think. Mm-hmm. I would think that by the January semester, things will be a lot more back to normal. Mm-hmm. We'll see anyway, it could be still blend. But I think education has changed anyway. COVID has changed the world and education as well. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot more education will be online nowadays. It won't have to affect the quality of the same education, but a lot more programs will be online from now on and will never go back to presential. In many ways, right?
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
Okay, we have a comment from Heine Mello. He said, I don't know, I believe it's a gentleman, I'm not sure. I'm Brazilian working in Cisco System Mexico. I have an AS, 2.5 years in IT management and more than 19 years of experience. Now I'm doing 8 months in an 8 months MBA. Would like to know if this academic background plus experience can be used for study plus working in Canada, for what kind of program can be applied. Well, I don't know if you want to take that question.
Yeah, sure. I can tell you a little bit. So, it's really great that you have all this experience, because again, that's going to set you apart from, the other applicants for jobs. But, for people like you who have a lot of experience, really qualified, to land a really good job in Canada, they do look at Canadian education as an add-on to what you've already done, because we want to know that your communication, that the communication in IT is I guess maybe English focused. The industry might be a little bit different where you're currently where you're currently working to Canada. So there's a lot of people who are like you at BCIT who have a ton of experience and they want to live and work in Canada, but they just need that education in Canada to complement all their work experience. So BCIT is good. My advice to you is, when you're looking at the programs, look at the actual courses, because you don't want to do exactly what you've done or you're going to be bored. So make sure that when you're looking at the program, you're looking at the courses. There's a course section where you can see every course that you're doing at BCIT. And that way you can make sure that what you're studying is going to complement your work and study experience and not just be a repeat. But we also do allow students to come into programs in the second year if what they have done is the exact same as what BCIT offers in the first year. So there is the chance to start in the second year. It's not the easiest and it's not the most efficient way that we do it. We only let the student know right before they start. It's not perfect, but we do sometimes exempt students from courses. So that's another possibility as well.
That's a double-edged sword, though, because if you do that, it would cut on your 2 years of studies and it would cut on your postgraduate work permit.
Yes, so it's probably just best to take the course because, again, it's an experience. It's very project-based. It's going to be interesting. So, again, it's definitely going to probably be different than what you've done. But, yeah, for you, I would say like a 2-year diploma program in IT would be a really great way to complement what you've already done so you can get a great job in Canada.
Yeah, with that kind of experience, I'm sure you will get a great job and very high-paying job. As a matter of fact, we have a student that did that years ago, and he moved to Calgary, and he's been living in Calgary ever since, and he got married, and he stayed here for the rest of his life, and he was working at Cisco as well. Anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question from Karen Ortiz. Las cifras que están dando, ella hablaba de las cifras del 91% y 98% de los graduados que salen con trabajo. ¿Estas cifras son para canadienses o para estudiantes extranjeros? Las cifras son para ambos, o sea, todos los alumnos en general de BCIT, canadienses y extranjeros, esas son las cifras de los que encuentran trabajo o ya tienen trabajo al graduarse. 91% para los diplomas y 98% para los que hacen licenciaturas. Okay, so it's not just the 91 and 98% graduation rate is for all students, not just Canadians or international, but
all students. Yeah, both students. Yeah, and international students are so great because for so many programs, they're bringing in the information from their home country. So for like marketing and for tourism, the international students have a major advantage over the Canadian students who only know Canada. If you're coming from Mexico, you have connections in Mexico, you have experience in Mexico. So there's a lot of program instructors and program heads who really want more international students to come to BCIT.
True. Marisa Zamora is asking, does BCIT have graduate programs? And the quick answer is yes, some.
Yes.
Yes, some. About that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do have graduate programs. We have a few masters, not too many. We have kind of like building engineering, building science, and then the master of digital media. But 70% of students who take our 2-year diplomas already have a degree. Like for me, I went to UBC, I got my bachelor's degree, and then I went to BCIT because I wanted a more practical experience. So the diploma, even though high school students can get in, university students also often come to BCIT. So the question or your answer is yes, but I would also recommend our diplomas because they are a great add-on to if you already have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, true. And they're very focused as well and very market-driven, right?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes high school students can find that the BCIT diploma is quite heavy. And so people who already have a bachelor's degree actually, are used to having a lot of work because they're not easy programs. So it's kind of ideal for you to have already completed a bachelor's. Not to say that high school students cannot do well at BCIT, but it's really, really great for students who already have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, more mature students, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that brings me to one of the point where you said you have advisory committees for all the school, all the different school, the faculty, the school, whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very interesting. And I think this is one of the key aspects of the Canadian style of education, which is a great synergy between the private sector and the educational sector, which together they shape the curriculum of the programs. And with the advisory committees, they know what the students need to know when they graduate to find job. Not just to find job, but to be useful to Canadian companies, so they really hire them and boost Canadians' competitive level, right? So I think we can't talk about this enough. This is unique to Canada. Well, maybe not unique to Canada, but this is unique. This is very strong in Canada, where the private sector has a big say with the school as to what goes into the program. And and that's why we have such high rates of students graduation with employment, because they are work ready, as you mentioned it. And that's a big add for the school.
Yes, exactly. You nailed it.
Good. Okay, Guadalupe Rivera is asking, can international students study at BCIT and work part-time? The answer is yes.
Yes, you can work 20 hours a week. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of jobs on campus. So we have, you know, a sports center. We have intramural sports like soccer and dodgeball and basketball. So there's actually lots of opportunities to work at BCIT. So you don't even have to leave the campus if you don't want to.
Yeah. And that visa that you get a study visa with the working option. This visa, we do it in class education for you. So we have a department for visa. We do all our students' visas, and that's a study permit with a work permit together in the same visa. And if you travel with your partner, su pareja, your partner will also get a work visa, a full-time work visa while you study. And if you happen to have young children between the age of 5 and 18, they can study while your visa is valid. They can study for free as an additional benefit to studying in Canada. So if you have kids from 5 all the way to, you know, elementary school and secondary school, they can study for free in the Canadian public system, which is where most Canadian students are studying as well. I'd say about 97, 98% of Canadian students are studying in the public system. And it's a very good system. So yeah, so you can also that. So your partner can work full-time, your kids can go to school for free, and you can study full-time and work part-time. And once you graduate, you get your postgraduate work permit for 3 years, and the kids stay in school for free, and your partner continue to work with a valid work permit. Okay? Si alguien necesita más información sobre eso, déjenos sus datos, hagamos una llamada, hagamos una plática por teléfono, por Zoom, por Skype, por WhatsApp, por donde sea, y le podemos dar los detalles de cómo funciona eso y cómo se logra. Todo eso son programas totalmente legal ofrecidos por el gobierno canadiense y en conjunto con Inmigración Canadá. Okay? Okay, another question. Is the prices you mentioned, about $20,000 Canadian per year, does that include, can we pay this, do we have to pay the whole thing up front? Can it be paid per year, per semester? That's the first part of the question. And second, what does it include? It includes, you know, student services, access to the rest of the facilities. What's included in that?
Okay, good question. So you do not have to pay up front. You pay by each term. So every year has 2 terms. So you'd pay, for the first year, you'd pay $10,000 in the first term before you start, and then $10,000 in the second term before the second term. So if you're doing 2 years, it's 4 payments of around $10,000. So you don't have to pay all the money up front. And then second part of the question was, can you just repeat the second part?
What's included in those fees?
Oh yeah, okay. So what's included in the fees, and I have a PDF of the fees, and it's kind of broken down. It includes your studying, it includes student services. So student services includes a lot of really great things, such as student advocacy. There's like a health program. It's not health insurance, it's like an extra thing. There are, they're called kind of job specialists, career specialists, and they actually help you work on your resume, your LinkedIn, and they actually can help you find a job. They put on like healthy food snack programs, lots of really great programs. For most programs, it also includes a bus pass, so you can get around in Vancouver for full-time programs. It includes access to the gym, so you don't have to pay for using our gym facilities. It includes, I believe, a student card, which gets you into our all nights study areas. So pretty much everything except for your housing, your food, and maybe your books. That's the other thing that is on top of it. But for education, it's including pretty much everything.
Sorry, did you say it includes insurance? Health insurance?
No, insurance is separate, but the student association, the student services, they do put on like some kind of teeth cleaning, like some kind of extra things to help with students' health, but it's not the medical insurance.
Okay. Well, the transportation card is a big one. That's about $160 dollars
Yes.
per month, and that's included. So that's a big one.
Yes, most programs. There are a few that aren't, and it's not my decision which ones aren't, but most of our programs do also include the bus pass.
Okay. You mentioned by the year 2022, did I hear that right?
Yes.
BC will need 1 million jobs. We'll have 1 more million jobs. That's
Exactly.
an amazing growth for the province.
Yes.
Given the
Yes.
fact that Vancouver is about 2.2, 2.3 million people. That means
Yes.
almost doubling the size of the city. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I think it's often like also because of some of the things that have been happening. So there's a lot more positions that we're looking for in terms of our healthcare, our security, cybersecurity is become huge, IT. So yeah, there are a big demand for a lot more positions, which is really great if you want to work in BC, because it's a great place to work, work-life balance, and also we're looking for a lot of really skilled people.
Yeah. Y sí, es un lugar, es un muy bonito lugar en el mundo para vivir. Es una calidad de vida altísima, una institución pública de primera, la verdad, BCIT, y con ese tipo de números de crecimiento económico, que es 1 millón de puestos que se van a estar de aquí a 2022, son menos de 2 años. La verdad que sí hay muchas necesidades. Es una inversión sabiendo que al salir de eso, pues ya tienes un empleo bien pagado, un empleo en algo que es relacionado con lo que estudiaste, entonces algo que te gusta normalmente. Muy bien. So you mentioned you still have intakes for September. You still have some spaces for September.
Yes.
Tell us how that would work if someone was to apply tomorrow morning and get in the next couple of weeks into BCIT. They would maybe not be able to come in, but they could study online, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of our programs are online. And so for those programs, they can start studying from Mexico.
Okay. La ventaja aquí al estudiar en línea para septiembre, I'm going to explain this in Spanish because this is important.
Of course. Yeah, go for it.
Es que alguien puede aplicar mañana para BCIT o cualquier otra institución canadiense mientras no hayan cerrado sus puertas para inscripción todavía. Algunos todavía tienen espacio. Puedes empezar en línea. El costo es el mismo de colegiatura, pero ya no tienes que pagar los costos de vivir aquí. Y puedes integrarte al programa presencial en enero 2021 o hasta el otro semestre inclusive. Y eso no va a afectar tu capacidad de tener tu permiso laboral de 3 años después de graduarte. Entonces, mucha gente ahorita se está registrando todavía para septiembre, sabiendo que van a empezar en línea. Mientras hayamos iniciado su proceso de visa, el gobierno canadiense ya confirmó que uno con un proceso de visa iniciado podrá estudiar en línea y no afectará su permiso laboral de 3 años al graduarse. Entonces, una muy buena noticia que ofreció nuestro gobierno hace pocos días, y esperamos más buenas noticias al final de este mes y le estaremos informando de eso. Pero una cosa que sí debe uno de considerar para empezar en septiembre y integrarse o no en enero, pero sí puede estudiar hasta 2 semestres completos en un diploma afuera de Canadá sin que afecte su permiso laboral. ¿Ok? Muy, muy importante. We have another question on financing, what kind of financing we offer. The school in itself does not offer financing, but we do have financing in Mexico available for our students. Los de clase en México, por favor, si pueden poner la slide del financiamiento. Les cuento rápidamente, clase hemos hecho una alianza con varias empresas de financiamiento en México. Pueden financiar hasta el 100% de sus estudios, inclusive los gastos de estudiar en Canadá también. Es un estudio socioeconómico que les hacen en más o menos 10 minutos y les pueden decir en pocos minutos si son sujetos a financiamiento o no y por qué monto aproximadamente. Y de ahí pues ya pueden ver si lo quieren financiar a 6 meses, 2 años, 4 años, hasta un máximo de 5 años, lo cual nos permite bajar las mensualidades. Ahí tenemos en la pantalla, un ejemplo que si fuera un financiamiento, por ejemplo, ¿no? de 175,000 pesos, nos daría un pago mensual de 9,726 pesos mensual a 24 meses. y 7,340 pesos mensual si fuera por 36 meses. Esos son ejemplos nada más y lo podemos extender a 5 años, lo cual bajaría el monto mensual. Otra cosa también que ofrecen esas empresas de financiamiento es hacer planes de pagos con montos más bajos al inicio y más fuerte después cuando ya uno empezó a trabajar tiempo completo. Si es un financiamiento a 5 años, los primeros 2 años puede hacer pagos más bajos mientras uno está estudiando y trabajando y tiene menos ingresos, y cuando ya se gradúa y empieza a trabajar y ganar dinero como graduado, ya atacar el préstamo con pagos más fuertes. Entonces, es muy flexible. Otra vez, todo eso se puede hacer en línea. Es un estudio socioeconómico que las hacen en 10 minutos por teléfono o en línea y les pueden decir rápidamente si les pueden prestar y qué monto, ¿no? Y de ahí hablen con ellos cuál será la mejor manera de hacerlo, si es a 24 meses o a 60 meses, como desean, ¿ok? Entonces, los que están interesados en eso, favor de contactarnos a un ejecutivo de clase y los podemos poner en contacto con esas empresas y juntos ustedes hablan de sus finanzas y nos informan si es algo que les funciona. Pero yo creo que en tiempos de COVID puede ser soluciones muy interesantes, lo cual no tenemos que esperar al próximo año quizás para hacer este viaje, pero lo podemos hacer este año y empezar a disfrutar de esas ventajas este año. El financiamiento se otorga también en pesos mexicanos. Una vez que se da el monto en peso, se mantiene en peso por lo largo del financiamiento. ¿Ok? Okay, so I want to talk about this. This is important. Some people are asking, Sarah, how does COVID affected the employment situation in Canada? Do you feel that those numbers will change? Do you feel the graduate will maintain the high level of employment upon graduation, or what's your take on that?
I have seen that there hasn't been of course, some people have lost their jobs during COVID because some things are shut down, like a lot of restaurants and things like that, although they're opening up now. But I would say that in terms of big companies, there's no difference. Like, you know, Amazon is doing better than they ever have before. BCIT, we've hired, like during COVID, actually, we hired another person to work alongside me. So a lot of industry is not shutting down and they're kind of working harder than ever. Like my job has been busier than ever, although I'm not traveling to Mexico, which I'm very sad about because I love Mexico. I'm doing a lot of recruitment online. So I believe that the jobs will change, but not the quantity of jobs, because people are still wanting to study. People are still wanting to make big changes in their lives. So there's a change, but the jobs are still available. And yeah, you have to be savvy. You have to use Zoom. You have to learn to do things online. But, you know, luckily, a lot of the people who are thinking about studying at BCIT, you know, millennials, Gen Y, Gen X, you're already very good online. So, you know, it's still, you know, life goes on and things are still really busy over here.
True. And things will get back to a new normal.
Yes.
But, it's not the end of the world and things will get back. And we're already feeling that. The economy is already growing back in Canada this year. So, you know, in recent months. So, okay. We have Jonathan Bobadilla, who's asking, tengo entendido que cuenta con un programa para revalidación de estudios en enfermería de estudiantes internacionales. ¿Cómo funcionaría? He's talking about a revalidation program for nursing for international students. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a program that I believe in all the schools right now in BC, they're only available for local because there's so many Canadians that want to learn how to nurse. So for BCIT, that's only for Canadian students. For the School of Health, we have, you know, the food technology, the biomedical engineering technology, but unfortunately, we don't have the nursing or any kind of, you know, doctor program available for international students.
Okay, so that's not available for international, only for local Canadians. From different provinces as well. Okay. I have another question here that I had noted down.
Actually, just one thing maybe to add though. You know, things could change because of what's been going on in our world. And if there's any updates, I will make sure to let Bruno know.
Okay. Jonathan is asking again, I missed the explanation on how to determine if the program is competitive or first qualified or first accepted. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I can repeat that. So when you go to each program, on the right-hand side, there's a section called Program Entry. So you click on Program Entry, and then right there at the top, it'll tell you whether it's competitive or first come, first serve. And the way to determine that is you'll see applications accepted on October 1st to August 1st, let's say. If there's a start date and an end date, then you know it's competitive. But if it says program, you can apply to the program on October 1st with no end date, then you know it's first come, first serve.
Okay, so first come, so the first apply, the first that are being accepted, and then the program, when it fills up, and that's the end of it.
Exactly.
Okay. Saulo Roa Padilla is saying, ¿se pueden revalidar materias o hacer equivalencias a las que ya se concursaron en México para obtener un diploma? Ya contestamos esta pregunta, Saulo, que me imagino que tu pregunta llegó antes. Sí se pueden revalidar ciertas materias en ciertos casos, en ciertos programas, pero recuerda que al hacer eso, si cortas tu diploma de 2 años a 1 año, solo tendrás acceso al permiso laboral de 1 año y no al de 3 años. Entonces, es algo que debes de pensar y se analiza eso en caso por caso. Okay? Any scholarship opportunities for postgraduate students? Question from one of our listeners.
Yeah, so unfortunately, no scholarship for students who are applying to BCIT, but once you're in, we do give students awards, financial awards, based on academic performance. So if you are doing really well at the top of your class, we do offer students in their second year some money if they're doing well academically. So not at the beginning, but possibly during your study.
Okay. For a master, do you offer revalidation of studies done in Mexico? Freddy Daniel Gomez is asking that. Yes, we do. We'll take your whatever studies you did in Mexico. We will translate them, send them to the school, and they will need to see that to accept you. If it's BCIT in a postgraduate program, if it's another institution and a master's, they would also need that to revalidate your studies. So we need to get those documents, translate them officially, and get them to take a look at it and review and give their answer on that. Okay, so I'm trying, there's a lot of people that are repeating some of the questions. A lot of people are giving us their contact information and asking for live meetings with us. So we'll do that. Let me see if there are more questions along the lines what we've been discussing. It's hard to read and talk at the same time. Since I'm not a woman,
yes.
Since I'm not a woman, I'm not able to do 2 things at the same time. Okay. A ver. La gente nos pregunta a qué correo puedo mandar mi información. La información está en la página. Ahorita está en la pantalla, perdón. Pueden mandar WhatsApp, email, correo, Facebook, Messenger, lo que gustan. Estamos a sus órdenes. Sigo con las preguntas. They ask, again, a question we get asked every webinar. Is there a maximum age to enter BCIT?
No, not at all. What's really nice about BCIT is you really get a good range, and there's lots of mature students. So, you know, there's students who are in their 30s, 40s, sometimes even 60s, and then you have the students from high school, the ones from university. So it's really varied, which is really nice. So I would say that, you know, BCIT does have a mature audience. So the majority is probably between the ages, I believe, of maybe 26 to 35. There's a lot of mature students. So yeah, don't worry. We take all ages. We you know, BC is very diverse, and that's what makes it a wonderful place. So we're like the same at BCIT.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people on the call here that are, I wouldn't say older, but they're not just coming out of university. They're a mature student, and they're looking for a better future, and they're looking for maybe a possibility of immigrating with their partners and their family. And I think BCIT is a great destination for them in terms of education, great preparation for the real world, for them to integrate themselves to the Canadian economy upon graduation, even while they're studying. So yeah, I think it's a right type of institution for a mature student because of the workload.
Definitely.
And because there's lots of students, Canadians and international, that are in that position in BCIT. Mario Zamudio is asking, what is the possibility to continue working in Canada after the 1 to 3 year work permit expires?
Oh yeah, I mean it's very good because we've kind of touched on this. You can apply for the postgraduate work permit, and whether it's 1 year or 3 years, because we have such high employment rates, 91% for diploma, 98% for bachelor's, you will work. And these percentages, they're not just any job, they're jobs in the field you've actually studied in. So that's another really important distinction, is that when you studied a specific diploma, you're going to be working in that industry. It's not going to be just any type of job. So yeah, the chances are very high, in the 90s.
Yeah, and it's true. You don't come out of BCIT working at Starbucks. I mean,
No.
This is not part of the 91%. Right. Okay. Another person is asking, just to get a picture, can you share a cost of living of an average rent in BC? I wouldn't call it BC. I would call it Vancouver, because there's different realities in BC. I would say Vancouver. Depends. It is a question from Manuel El Huri. If it's one person, I would say if you stay in a homestay with a family, it's about $950 per month. That includes 2 to 3 meals per day, your private room, and all the services of the house. That's in homestay. If you stay with a friend in an apartment, I would say anywhere, for the apartment, I would say anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500. You agree with that, Sarah?
Yeah, I went cheap when I was in school. So I would go like, 700 sometimes. You have to learn, you have to look, you have to search. But yeah, those are very conservative prices. So if you would budget for that, that's great. But if you're, open to living in, a house in East Vancouver with maybe 4 people, you can really cut your costs down. But you don't want to just depend on that. So it's good to maybe have the higher numbers. But there's lots of people who have to get creative sometimes in Vancouver if you want to save money. Yeah, so lots of options.
But there's a great transport system, so you can live a little further away, and the bus, the metro, the C bus, it works so well, and it's easy to get anywhere. It's still a small city, comparing to Mexico City. It's a small city. We are the size of Coyoacán, I mean, Coyoacán, Colonia in Mexico.
I love Coyoacán.
I know, I love it too.
Place. Yeah.
I think there are more people living in Coyoacán than in Vancouver. There's 2.2 in Mexico.
Wow. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, so that's one point, and so the public transportation is very good. But yeah, rent could vary, and we recommend that you first come with a family, with a homestay family to begin with. Maybe the first month, the first 2 or 3 months, maybe the first semester, and then you find your ways. Then you meet some people at school, and then you find a nice place that's within your budget, and then you make it work. But I think the safest thing to do is to come in, stay with a family, minimum 1 month, get your bearings, and find out how things work, and then you find your own place. I think that would be my best advice for people that want to do that. Okay, Uriel Alvarez is asking, what's the difference between a bachelor and a diploma? Okay, a bachelor is a 4-year program, is like a licenciatura, and a diploma is a 2-year program, and a certificate, if you wonder as well, a certificate is for 1 year. Okay, so a certificate gives you a 1-year postgraduate work permit. A diploma and a bachelor will give you a 3-year work permit in Canada upon graduation. All right, so we're working our way through those questions. Still a lot. I don't know if we're going to end up, we'll finish, but I promise not to take too much more of your time, Sarah. I know you're a busy woman.
It's okay.
So lots of people are giving information, talk about revalidation, talk about doing meetings with us later on. Los que quieren hacer una reunión con nosotros, encantado de apoyarlos, de servirlos en ese sentido. Déjanos saber de qué quieren comentar. Si necesitamos ver si Sara está disponible, lo podemos invitar. Si lo podemos hacer solitos también, según los horarios y según las preguntas, lo veremos con cada persona. Okay, a good question here on the English level. We talked about Duolingo 115 points and IELTS 6.5. So if you don't have that the English level, you said you have your own English program in BCIT, and you also work with a local school in Vancouver called VGC, whom we also work with.
Oh, great. Okay.
So someone can do their English at VGC and then graduate directly from there into BCIT, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. So there are different ways to go about it. And if you cannot travel today to study at VGC, VGC also have online courses which you can study and very economical for now until you can come to Canada, to Vancouver, and study at the school.
Perfect.
Okay, still continue to do two things at the same time. Trying to read. I think we're answered the most important questions. I don't know if there's something else you'd like to add, Sarah, while I give it another last minute read. If there's something to add before we say goodbye.
Yeah. Let me think of what I can also say. As a BCIT student, I took the marketing communications program, and it was 2 years. And what I really liked about it, and this also applies to most of our programs, is that at the end of the program, there is a co-op. So you can actually apply what you've learned for a real company. And oftentimes, the employers will end up hiring the students for work because, you know, the student has worked there already, they've trained the students. So for the company, it's, you know, really great for them to have that student work full time. So that applies to a lot of our programs. And of course, you know, the co-op is going to look a little bit different now, although it might go back to normal. But it's a really important part of BCIT, whereas a lot of other colleges, you have to pay to do that. You have to add extra years, but at BCIT, it's added into your program. So you don't even have to think about it. It's part of your program.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea Paola Medina pregunta si manejamos instituciones fuera de Vancouver o en Toronto, Montreal o otras ciudades. La respuesta es sí, Andrea. En Class Education trabajamos con más de 300 instituciones en Canadá, entonces seguramente tenemos una institución que se acopla a tus necesidades, que sea geográfica, de programa, de presupuesto, de ubicación en el país. Seguramente tenemos una que se acerca de tus necesidades. A very good point you mentioned, and we also know that it might not be the right time right now to travel because our border is still closed and it's simply not physically possible to travel to Canada, but it is a right time to plan it and even still start applying and start studying online because you gain time, you gain momentum, and you save money. You save a lot of money by not having to be in the country without affecting your postgraduate work permit. I think that's a great offer and not everybody is getting it. I hope you're getting this because this is a big one. You could study in September and come to Canada, maybe even in September, but if not, in January, and you would have studied already 25% of your diploma without affecting your postgraduate work permit. And that's something that was never possible before, and now it is possible. Just like Duolingo was never possible before, and now it is possible to do the test online for $49 instead of, how much is it, an IELTS test? $250?
I have no idea.
It's about $200 or
Wow.
So 1/4 of the price. So there are good things about this pandemic.
Yes.
You can count them on one hand, but these are two. And so I think, you know, we need to think about this. We need to plan. We need to get the right information. And both Class Education and BCIT and all our partners are here to help you in that sense, to help you make good decisions about your future, make a good investment, find out the right school and the right program for you, and assist you before, during, and after that process in making this growth and this investment in yourself and your family, and maybe this change in your life with you and your partner and maybe potentially your family, we are here to help you with that. Si eso lo necesitan, hablen con nosotros, acérquense a nosotros. Estamos aquí para apoyarlos en ese sentido, para orientarlos, para que asegurarnos que están tomando una muy buena decisión y van con toda la información que necesitan saber de antemano. Estamos a sus órdenes en términos de visados, en términos de hospedaje, en términos de consultoría educativa, por supuesto, seguro médico y cualquier otra pregunta que tiene que ver con desplazarse a vivir una experiencia de ese tipo en Canadá, que sea en Vancouver, en Montreal, en Victoria, en Calgary o donde sea en el país aquí. Entonces, I think we've answered most of the questions. There are still some coming in, but at one point we got to call it a day. It's already 8:30 in Mexico. So Sarah, thank you so much for your presence today and for sharing your time and all this valuable information. It was great having you on the webinar.
Thank you so much for, sorry. Go on. No, I'm just saying thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. And I love like how seamless this process was, you know, it was really nice. Yeah.
Well, we try to make it fun, interactive. And, yeah. But you know, there's always more questions. The good news is that Class Education, we're here, we're online, we're on Zoom right now. We're also on Facebook. You have all our contact information. Please stay in touch. Please bug us and tell us, hey, I need this information and I need it ASAP. We have a lot of work, and especially after a webinar like today with hundreds of people on the call, we have a lot of work, but we'll get to you. And if we don't, please bug us and be on our back to get back to you. It's not that we don't want to. Sometimes work takes us, you know, a little further. But anyway, so I hope this webinar was informative for you. Again, thank you to BCIT for participating and Sarah for being here with us. We might bug you in the next couple of days to be on some calls with us with some of the people that are asking specific questions about specific programs. So I hope you can be available for that. And thank you again to all the great class team that made this event possible, answering questions live on Facebook and on Zoom, and everyone that put this event together. Thank you so much. We'll call it a night for now. Muchas gracias, México, por estar presente el día de hoy otra vez. Nos vemos el día jueves en nuestro próximo webinario y el día de mañana recibirán la grabación de este webinario por si lo quieren volver a ver o compartir con sus amistades. Muchísimas gracias, Sara. Que te vaya muy bien, que descanses y muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Buenas noches.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.